Ladies and gentlemen, I have just seized a car that can seat over 1 million people.
Through fire and wind and all things like that, I bring to you what is honestly one of my favorite vehicles. I think this is one of the best all-rounders that you're going to find anywhere, and it does everything well, even when it comes to getting good gas mileage. This is your 2023 Sienna Toyota minivan XSE XLE. We'll go around the back of it so I can read it. But it is it's actually like a mid-grade of your trim, and yet, as you'll see later, it's very nicely equipped. And it also has all-wheel drive, but most importantly, and the thing that makes it really special, I'm avoiding a mud puddle, sorry about that, is all-wheel drive hybridization. It's not just all-wheel drive, it's got your hybrid system. It's a very similar system that's on your RAV4, for example. It uses a 2.5 liter dynamic force 4-cylinder engine and then a very strong electric motor. Electric motor that is actually in the hybrid world is about 3 times as strong as the electric motor on the Tundra hybrid. You got that? The iForce Max? That's just a little wimp in the in the electric motor department compared to this thing. And it really shows because the fuel economy is terrific. The acceleration is good, and it's just a real good balance. When you have all that electric reserve and that nice strong electric motor, it really smooths out the powertrain very nicely and gives good performance. A total of 245 horsepower, as I recall. And I apologize for this horrible lighting, but you know, here's the problem. Mud. I don't like driving in the mud in this nice car. And we've had nothing but, we should have had several feet of snow, and instead we've had many inches of mud. But with a 120-inch wheelbase, it's a very substantial vehicle. And it's got all kinds of electrical stuff on it, such as your side sliding doors. Would you like a quick demo? Here, we'll give you a quick demo on there. You just grab hold here like this. Look at there. Woo! Nice, huh? And to close it, you can just do this. Bye. Also, of course, has a rear gate that you can actuate with your foot if necessary as you're holding several children. And you can realistically get, this has the captain's chairs in it like everything does nowadays, so you can realistically get, I'd say 7 people in here. If some of them are children, you can absolutely get 7 people in there. And like 4 adults and 3 children would be good. But you also have a lot of space that you can reconfigure the rear end area, the seating area, and get quite a bit of cargo space. And here's the kicker. You want to know the kicker? In addition to the excellent mileage, we're talking subcompact gas mileage. It can also tow 3,500-pound trailer according to Toyota. So look at all that. You got your all-wheel drive, you got your hybrid power plant with excellent fuel economy, you got tons of room because it's a minivan, and you got that wonderful reliability because it's a Toyota hybrid, which are some of the most reliable vehicles you can buy. And on top of all this, it drives really nice. Like I say, I'm kind of smitten with this thing. Shall we dig deeper? Shall we look inside? Shall we check out the motors and stuff? Of course we will. Stay with us. May I now share with you 2.5 liters? Here we have a 2.5 liter dynamic force inline 4-cylinder engine. And first of all, isn't it nice when I get a vehicle? I'm one of the first lucky ones to get this particular review vehicle, and it's just pristine clean. It's beautiful. But this little engine right here puts out 189 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and delivers 176 pounds of feet, or your torques, at 4,400 RPM. But if we go to the right here, here we have our electric bits. Our electric bits right here, this is a nice strong motor. It has 180 horsepower, this motor, which is 134 kilowatts for you electric people. And in the rear we have another motor, which, since this is the all-wheel drive version, and it puts out 54 horsepower or 40 kilowatts. I'll give you a look at that later, but that's pretty interesting. But these dynamic force engines from Toyota are incredible because they are incredibly efficient in terms of thermal efficiency. The amount of power you get out for the amount of heat out, it's all complicated physics stuff, but it is a real triumph in terms of efficiency. And it's revealed in good power for a small engine and very, very good fuel economy and very, very low emissions, which naturally is a real good fit for a hybrid. And as you can see here, we got your 0.16 weight oil that goes in it. That's always an indicator to me that that's a dynamic force engine. But you got two different coolant systems there. One is for your electrical and one is for your internal combustion engine, or ICE. ICE, which is something that's rapidly disappearing on the planet. I don't know if you noticed that. We're becoming water. But very simple. There's your dipstick right there. And your cylinder, naturally it's transverse. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's very, very easy to deal with. Now, if this is the same as the RAV4 hybrid underneath, which I believe it is, it's also very easy if you are into servicing yourself, doing your own oil changes. It's a piece of cake. It's very easy. Everything is quite accessible. But look at how clean. I'm admiring how clean everything is, because it will never be this clean ever again. That's just what happens when you buy a car and you drive it anywhere. It's going to get dirty. But this is a fantastic power plant. Anyway, as I mentioned before, the overall power output is 245 horsepower. And it, as all hybrid systems do, it goes from, it sometimes uses the electric motor by itself, or it uses the engine by itself, or it uses the electric motor and the engine together. And it is constantly switching and determining these things. And one of the great strengths of the Toyotas is that it does so very, very smoothly. And transitions are often not even noticeable. And it also, it's powered by a nickel metal hydride battery pack. Now, what Boots? What about lithium ion? Well, I'm personally, I'm a bit fonder of the old style nickel metal hydrides, because there's a lot of things about them that are great. And one thing is their cold weather performance is better. But Toyota is constantly working on things, and most of their hybrids now are powered by the lithium ion batteries, because the batteries are getting better and more to what Toyota wants out of their battery system. And a lot of times I was told by someone at Toyota that what determines the battery is what's available. The lithium ions are lighter, and so you have to put in more weight to have an equivalent amount of power with the nickel metal hydride batteries. But and something else that's great about the nickel metal hydrides, they are super proven in terms of hybrid applications, because we're going all the way back to actually 1999, and it wasn't until 2000 that the Prius first appeared in America, if I recall. But these things have been around a while, guys, and they're real reliable, and it's a fine system to have. I mean, I like that. But anyway, and that is, of course, charged by the alternator of the engine or regenerative braking. And that is, of course, where this motor right here, for example, and the rear one does the same thing, by the way. This motor situation right here is normally a motor, but when you're coasting, it switches. And instead of putting out power, it freewheels. The momentum of the vehicle turns the windings and everything else, and so therefore it becomes a generator. And it also delivers a little bit of drag, and that's what helps brake the vehicle. So you're braking the vehicle and saving your brake pads and your braking components, your mechanical braking components as they call it. At the same time, you're charging your battery. And the earliest systems like this from everybody, except Toyota in my opinion, were often like an on-off kind of a grabby thing. They weren't the smoothest transitions in the world. But Toyota has really mastered this beautifully, and so the brakes feel completely normal. You won't even notice anything's going on, other than the fact that you're replacing your brake pads less often than you would be on a non-hybrid version. But that's the thing about the Sienna. They're all hybrids. They all have this power plant right in front of you. And I love the fact that Toyota decided to do that. They just chucked all the V6s and everything else to say, well, we're just going to do hybrid, just like they did with the Venza. The Venza is all hybrid all the time. So there you go. So that's a wonderful, wonderful engine right there. Wonderful powertrain. And the beautiful thing is the rest of the car around it is equally splendid. We shall look at more of it right now. Ah yes, as Wormtail said to Saruman, can you not see? Look at the size of this thing. You can tell by that tail end that you're going to have a whole lot of A, space for your third row passengers, and B, lots and lots of cargo area, which is a good thing, because that adds versatility to this to make it the ultimate family car in so many ways. I love this. You know, I had a problem with this earlier. Let me try this again, because it's one of my favorite features. I believe Ford was the first to do this. Yep. There we go. You swipe your foot and she opens right up. Nice, huh? And then when the third row is deployed, you have this rather fantastic tub right here where you can fill it up with some warm water and maybe some bubble bath. Well, I wouldn't recommend doing that actually, but there's a lot of space here. So this is one of these situations that's interesting about minivans, is that with SUVs for the most part, when you have the third row deployed, you don't have much cargo space left. But due to the construction of the fact that the wheels are up there, you see, they're up there, and you have it's not a body on frame construction, it is a unibody construction, so it's a big box. That allows it to make the floor low enough so that you have all this additional storage space. Now what if I want more? I want more space. Well, to stow the seat, you pull this right here. See that? Boom! How about that? Very simple. You can do that on both sides, and you have tons of space. And you can actually do it on the second row in a modified fashion. I think you can remove those seats. I mean, let's face it, if you got a crowbar, you can remove any seat, in any vehicle. But this thing is fantastic in that it's so easy to use, and I think probably some of the higher trim lines, they probably have. Now let's put her back in place here. Yep, I'm trying to do this with one hand. Oh, there we go. Boom! Just like that. And you can use this right here. See, it says to recline or not recline. Oops, shouldn't do it that way with one hand like I just did it. They'll be writing me up. Uh-oh, there they go. Hang on, y'all. Woo! I just thought I'd take this little equestrian break for you because they're the world's muddiest horses at the moment. Okay, sorry about that. So you have that option of being able to recline this third row, and you just have tons and tons and tons of room. And like I said, it's very easy to do manually. There's no electricity involved with this. But I do think maybe in the limited or higher trim versions, there may be an electric system that does it. I don't know for sure though. But you don't need it, that's my point. It works really, really nicely, just the mechanical system. And with all look at the size of this lift gate too. I mean, the whole rear of the vehicle just opens up for you. So you can put all your amazingly valuable Rolex collection in several suitcases. You can just throw it right in there. So, well, what else do we have? We have 18-inch wheels on a vehicle that's got a tire almost at every corner, like a gigantic Mini, and a nice wide stance, and 120-inch wheelbase. And we'll dig inside now because that's where all the joy happens. This is the interesting thing about this is, as big as it may look here because there's nothing for scale, it's not that big a vehicle. It's absolutely garageable. But man, does it have the space. Let's have a look, shall we? Einstein was a sailor, of that there is no doubt. Hello there, America, and places outside of America. Here we have the dash cluster, our instrumentation for our 23 Sienna. And as you can see, we have an analog affair, but it's different in that, this being a hybrid. And by the way, you can hear the engine running right now because it's idling, because I just started the car. And one of the most important things with hybrids is for the engine to come up to temperature as quickly as possible. And that's mainly for emissions and other things. But that sound you hear, which will stop any second now, is the engine running. But anyway, anyhow, our instrument cluster reveals that on the right we have a nice mechanical analog speedometer along with the fuel gauge, and then to the left we have the power central, the power distribution area, where we have right now, see, we're right on the border of economic operation, which would be full electric. Well, not full electric, mostly electric. Well, anyway, and then and then down here is where we charge. So example, if you're going downhill when you're driving, it's going to float down into the charging area, because the electric motivating devices, also known as motors, swap over to be electric generators, and they recharge the battery pack. However, if you're really getting on the gas somewhere, hitting up a hill, it will leave the eco zone and go into the power zone to tell you that's what's going on. This is all just by way of letting you know what's going on with the drivetrain as you are happily driving along with all your wife and your family and your kids and your all kinds of things. So those are your main instruments. In the middle you have a pretty much standard for Toyota instrument cluster, what I like to call the information area, which tells you a bunch of different things about whatever you need to know about the car. Like right now, we have 398 miles to empty, which is kind of amazing when you consider the fact we've already driven on this tank 102 miles. And at the moment we're getting no miles per gallon because we're not moving at all. But that's the instantaneous report on what's going on with that. Then we can move over here, and here's our compass and a bunch of stuff here. That was our lane departure, whether or not it's on, and that's basically it from that one. And over here we have the audio system is off, so there's nothing to report at this time. And then we have the primarily it's just going back to my trip situation to tell you that we have no miles on the trip meter at the moment. This is to tell you what's going on with the battery versus the electric motor. Right now we're sitting here idling, and there's no propulsion going to any of the wheels as we sit here and idle and charge the battery. It's also working. The engine is also still running because it wants to heat up this cabin, because it's about 11 degrees outside. Well, it's warmer than that. And then we have our look at that, almost perfect. There's always one tire that is a renegade, but that's our tire pressures. And this is one of my favorites. I'll give you a little demonstration of this real quick because it's so simple. If I put her in the drive here and we begin moving, it's going to tell you, you see, it's using all four wheels very briefly. But that's the distribution of power to the various wheels, front or back, just so you know what's going on. Extremely useful in slippery conditions, but what's most interesting to me is the fact that you use that rear axle more than you might think, even when it's completely dry and everything else. Right now it sometimes uses that rear axle just as part of the drivetrain, because that's the most efficient way to get the car down the road. And this is all about efficiency, this minivan. And so there's that. And then finally we got our this is our settings, what I call your easy access settings, because I'm doing all this with the switches on steering instead of going to the main menu on the main screen. But here's all our various, like our blind spot monitor, our parking assist, rear cross traffic alert, all that stuff is located right there. If you want to change something, you just go down there and change it, just like that. It's right there. And finally, we go to our message area, and our message area is telling us roads may be IC, drive with care. Well, I always drive with care. Matter of fact, this machine should know that by now. But so anyway, it's 33 degrees, which almost all of these icy warnings seem to come on at 37 degrees, which I don't rightly know right offhand what that is in Celsius. It's probably like 5 degrees Celsius or something like that. Anyway, but there we have it. That is our steering array. And then over here with the flickering, I should have used the other camera. Well, anyway, there's our map on our main screen. And it is an excellent map in terms of, it's a good size, and it's mounted high enough up, you see, so that you don't really have to take your eyes off the road as much as you have to do, for example, with those that are in portrait mode. And we drop down a little bit, and here we have our climate control area, which is completely familiar to anybody driving anything these days, because with these automatic systems that you literally just dial in the dial in the temperature you want on both the driver and passenger sides, and in the back we have the rear also. And the car will strive to get that temperature right where you set it in that part of the car. And we have, of course, your heated seats right down there. And we go back, a nice, wonderful, conventional shifter. Now, this is very, very familiar to anybody that drives, like, for example, I don't know, a RAV4 hybrid, is it's exactly, basically the same kind of thing. It's purely mechanical here, but it naturally goes into an electronic system. And if you go into drive, you can kick it over and put it into your manual mode. And you'll have like 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there's 6 manual speeds available to you at your convenience. And by the way, if we saunter over here, right here, that's where you put your smartphone or your regular cell phone, as long as it's QI equipped, so that it can be charged. And with most Toyotas, it's tricky if you have a case on your phone, because it really does have to be in exactly the right orientation and position in order for that charger to work. if you have a case on your phone. Otherwise, it's much more relaxed about that sort of thing. So then we have cup holders, cup holders, cup holders. Cup holder you can make go away if you want. Place to put your phone here too if you're not in the mood to charge. Right up here we have a little bit of drive news. We have here our eco mode, and then we have our normal mode, and then we have our sport mode. And actually the eco mode tends to bias more towards electric motor operation, and the sport mode tends to bias more towards gasoline engine operation, because that's where more power is. More power to you. So now we go aft a little bit more, and what do we have here? Ooh, look at here. A very, very, very deep. Shall we go in? As I make my descent into the inky depths. Look at all this. Look at how deep this is. This is amazing. My God. Anyway, I love this console because it's deep down there. It's deep down there. A lot of room for a lot of stuff in that console. You know what else is interesting? If you come with me around here, look at this flying buttress structure. You got all this area down here so you can put your footballs and your soccer balls and your basketballs. It's the ball section. Or if you have a little dog that likes to ride down there, they can ride down there. But you have this, it's such an interesting structure. Reminds me a little bit of some of the stuff that Volvo has done. But it's very elegant and interesting. And we migrate over and we have our passenger area. And down here we have a very, very roomy glove box with a little first aid kit right there. How about that, huh? Huh? Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now, this is only the beginning of a car like this, because we can now go aft. And there's so much going on in the back seat. Let's go there. Oh, one other thing I should mention, we do have, with this particular model, look at all this garbage I've got strewn about the car. Our seating is in fact officially designated on our XSE as, what's it called? Premium audio, Softex trim seats with heated and power. Now, Softex is a very, very common material used by Toyota these days, and it's great. It looks like leather, it feels like leather, but it has a little bit more water resistance, and I think a little bit more durability than leather does. So it's absolutely perfect for a family vehicle like this. All right, now then, we're gonna go back here and let's pull out there. Whee! Power assisted for your convenience. And here we have our captain's chairs, where people like you like to be in charge because you think you're some kind of captain. But a nice, nice flat load floor, and naturally a whole lot of room. And if you want to shut there's all kinds of ways to shut the door. You can just do this here. You can grab the handle, or you can press this button, and there she goes. Closes itself. So you got a million little options. Up here we got our ventilation, our air, especially if you live in a hot climate, that nice cold air will come out of that vent right there. And you got your map light. And here, ooh, we have a rear seat DVD situation. I don't know where you put your DVD in here. I haven't examined that. But you have rear seat entertainment, that's the important point. And here we have rear seat climate control also, which is, since I haven't linked the front, it's on the same temperature as the front is. But look at all this vastness here. There's so much space in this vehicle, it's ridiculous. And you can slide these forward and back, woo, woo, woo. But even all the way forward, you can just about get an adult in here. But it's so nice and smooth and easy. And naturally, you also have your ability to recline. Oh, yeah. Excellent, excellent. But you ask yourself, though, what about my winders? Well, let me show you your winders here. First of all, shades, right? But better yet, now I remember the first time I ever saw this on a minivan, I thought it was brilliant. You have windows that go down about 86%. But ventilation, ventilation, ventilation for all your dogs, which is fantastic. We all love that. Anyway, if we go back aft here, let me do that there. It's very upright, very upright. However, you do have good room back here. And one of the things I like most about it is, again, we got more ventilation back here, so this thing can handle your hot weather just fine. And look over here, we have a volume control for headphones for your DVD system, and you also have a couple of places, including a USB and USB-C, to plug in your portable electronic device. All right then. Now, the thing I'm wondering, do these recline? And the answer is yes, they do. And you do this via like so. So you kind of got to recline it in place first, you see. And then the question is, can I fit back here when this seat is all the way back? And the answer is, yeah, sure you can. I mean, there's lots of room. This is a roomy thing. This could be a harbinger to the new Grand Highlander, or Highlander Grand, or something, whatever it's called. It was just announced, I think, today. But you're going to have true three-row seating in the new Highlander. But it's going to have to be pretty damn good if it's going to compete with this Sienna. Probably have very similar drivetrains, those two. We'll see. But anyway, vastness, space. It's like Carnegie back here. And if you start folding these seats down, well, you just got a trip and a half is what you got. And I think I showed you before the rear seats. But there's one other thing I need to show you. Oh, yep. Let us sojourn. Whee! I'll go back here anyway. Closed door, please. You could do that like that. There we go. We're on a slight hill too. It handles it. Let's see if I can operate my foot. Whee! I do get such a kick out of that. I think I showed you this before. Yeah, I know I showed you this area, but there's one more thing I need to show you. If you put that in the recline position and you put these down like that, the rear visibility out of this thing is surprisingly good. I mean, yeah, we have a rear camera and everything, but to see what's behind you, as narrow as this space is, you can still actually see from the driver's part. Now, I've been in some minivans where rear visibility like that is no good. I mean, it's just not great. But anyhow, there's our tub again, where you have so much room in this vehicle to travel. It's fantastic. So there we have your Sienna, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about the interior. It's all about the space. Yeah. All right, there we go. Oops, sorry. Well, I'm telling you.
And I tell you it isn't my deal. And I'm the guy you want. So I'm...
You can't drive a car unless you have the key. If this vehicle was a hall, they'd call it Carnegie. Boy, I do like having all this space in here, I tell you. You know, you may not believe it, but I got me a Clydesdale foal that's running around in this car. You just can't see him. This car has so much room in it that you have no idea what's going on there. But that's the way it is when you have the roominess. The roominess is roomy. As you can always tell, you're way in the back there. You're in the third row, and you may be able to detect the fact that it's very quiet, this car. I mean, we're only going about 35 or 40, but in a minute we're going to crank it up a little bit, and you're going to be able to see. Now, why in the world have I put that camera all the way back there? Because space, man. It's all about vast space that you have. There's all these things you can do. You know what I was thinking about doing? I tell you, I was thinking about putting like a ping pong table in there, in the back of there, so you could, you know, you really shouldn't be doing that when you're driving. But you know, I just, it is illustrative of how much space you really have. And it's always good to have that kind of space, because you never know what's going to happen. I could be driving along here, and there on the side of the road we could have an injured hippopotamus. Now, hippopotami, that's plural, typically are not real friendly. There's the world's greatest plumber. That's Steve Dinsmore. He's a fantastic fellow. Anyway, hippopotamuses kill a lot of people every year because they don't like people messing with them or in their area around their children. And a hippopotamus would love this vehicle because they could get several of their little children, their calves I believe they're called, in this vehicle when they're little. But if you were driving along and suddenly you had an injured hippopotamus that looks like he meant you no harm, and you're able to convince him that you mean him no harm, you could probably slide open that big door there and get that hippopotamus in there and get him to the vet. You know, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I believe that when you have a vehicle this roomy and this comfortable, the sky's the limit. Is there an echo? You don't care? Are you echoing back? Probably not, but the microphone's on me, so I guess not. But I could put the other one. You know what I could do? I could do 2 channels, and I could put a microphone back there. I don't think I'm gonna do that. But that would be fun. And we're all about the fun here at the Boots Tarkington organization. We're all about having a good time. Well, I have to put in a recommendation for a YouTube channel for you, in case you don't watch it. I stumbled on it the other day, and I really like this guy. I think he's great, and I think he does a great job. But it's called I Do Cars, and it is primarily breaking down engines that have blown up. And he takes them apart and shows you, and they do it. It's kind of like Poirot, you know. It's like a detective story where you figure out why in the world this thing threw a rod out the side of the block, that kind of thing. But he's great. It's entertaining, and he just seems like he's a real decent chap. And I was thinking about him earlier because I was watching one of his YouTube videos, and he mentioned that they just welcomed their second child into the world, and I was thinking, you know, I know a fella that could use this vehicle right here. If you're gonna be starting to, you know, fill up the house with young'uns, you're gonna need a way to cart them about, because you know they go places. Them kids, they as they get older, they have all kinds of areas they need to go to and activities and things. So driving this car, this hybrid system, one of the reasons I love this Sienna is the hybrid system is such that it is, as with each subsequent generation of the hybrid system with Toyotas, is they manage to figure out a little bit more and smooth things out a little bit more and make things a little bit more efficient so that it just gets better and better. But the funny part is, from the driving standpoint, you don't really know you're driving a hybrid. It's like, I still say, this is one of the strangest things about electric cars, is once you get over about 40 miles an hour, whether you're in an electric or you're in an ICE-powered, internal combustion engine-powered vehicle, they all seem the same over about 40 miles an hour. You press on the gas, you go forward. They're all very smooth and quiet. I mean, the gas engines nowadays are remarkable. So there you go with that. So are you getting lonely all the way back there? I imagine you are. You'd probably like to ride up a little closer and get a look at all the activities going on there. Well, how about that? Now you're up front. How about, you're amazing the way you did that. The way you traveled from row to row. You skipped a second and went for the first. I really admire that. So, I think it's time to focus a little bit more on this drivetrain that I find so suitable. With a lot of hybrids now, well, I guess most of them really, the most interesting aspect of it is when you get into traffic situations, especially when you get into urban situations with stop and go scenarios, tends to take off with the electric engine alone, nice and smooth, and then the electric motor, the gas engine kicks in. And let's put on our cruising control here. And so you get this real interesting sensation of, you start out with the smoothest of the smooth, and then you can actually feel some vibration. Not bad. Trust me when I say vibration, but you can feel the presence. Presence, much better word to use than vibration. But you will feel the presence of your industrial internal combustion engine. Now the nice thing about this is, first of all, something else that's really interesting about our driving conditions today is it is real windy, and it's coming, we're heading, where are we heading right now? Southwest? That's what it says. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. But anyway, here you'll see this flag over here. We're getting a lot of crosswind component. And if there's anything that's going to get blown around more, it is a minivan, because it's a great big box, basically. I mean, if we're going to be honest about it, it's a big old box. And this big old box, I have the, do I have that on? Wait a minute. Yeah, I do. It's steering itself. I don't want it to do that at this moment, although we're going to do that later quite a bit to see how well it works. But we have this big crosswind component, and we're about to go down here past the airport, where the crosswind component is always really strong, and I love it because it's consistently strong. It's a very unusual day to drive by that airport and not get a pretty good gust from the sides. Even when the wind's not blowing that much, you can really feel it. And I find that fascinating. I was going to actually do some overhead stuff today with the drone unit, but it's so gusty out that I don't really want to fly in this weather right now. But anyway, let's see. Let's back up here. Let's back up. Back up. There we are. Bedlam Road. What state am I in? I'm in a state of madness. See, this car just makes me happy. It puts me in a good mood, because I feel like I've got a load of children, and we're going to, like, the aquarium or something. There's no zoos near here. It's real interesting. We don't have zoos. People have real controversial feelings about zoos. If they're done right, I think they're, as a biologist, which I am, I feel like they can be done right, and you can get to see these incredible animals and creatures, which is very important to appreciating them and preserving them and understanding them. But to do it right costs a fortune. You need a lot of space, But that's one of the most interesting things about modern aquariums and modern zoos, is they're coming up with some fascinating ways of highlighting the creatures. of showing you the creatures. I'm always turning my cruise control off when I don't mean to be. I still, you know, with Toyotas, I still prefer their what I call the classic system of cruise control that they still have on a few things, and a few Lexus models as well, which is a separate stalk down here, because I don't care how dark it is or what the circumstances of your driving situation may be, you're going to be able to work it comfortably in the dark just by feel, because it's a very unique feeling instrument, whereas these are just buttons on the steering wheel that can be confused with any other buttons on the steering wheel. And who needs more confusion? That's what I want to know. Well, we're getting real close to giving you. I wonder if I can help you out back there with the shade. Nah, I can't. Well, anyway, I think you're shaded enough. Oh, I could do this. Wait a minute. Ah, look at that. How about that? Now, normally I have that open to get some of that ambient light in there, but I'm going to close it for you because I don't think you're enjoying your flare, your lens flare. So what mileage? I'm real familiar with these Toyotas. Am I? Well, this one, let's see, I'm trying to figure all this out. There we go. There we go. Total average right now in the mileage department is 26.3 miles per gallon, which is still really good. We got to remember we are in winter time, and this vehicle, upon being in the process of being delivered to me, had to go through quite a bit of weather. Some snow, some sleet. Not much. When I say snow, we're talking flurries, but sleet and lots of rain. Here's a true story. The wife just got back from the city, the big city, the huge city, biggest city in America, really. Boy, you need help, man. That thing's got a knock to it. Whoa. Anyway, she returned from the big city, and I said, "Oh, you washed the car. It looks great. I didn't even know it was silver." And she pointed out to me that no, she didn't. She would have liked to have washed the car, but she didn't. But the rain was so intense, and I am not exaggerating, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. That car looked brand new. Okay, here we are. We're next to the airport, and now we should be blasted with some. Oh yeah, I can hear it. Some crosswind component. And as you can see, we're not getting blown around hardly at all, which is remarkable, but I think they put a lot of work into this vehicle, inside and out, and they have a slope to the sides that helps the wind just go right over and right under. Boy, this thing in front of me, I swear, it's gonna blow up. I don't want it to spew parts all over me. See, like I said, when I'm watching I Do Cars, I'm starting to understand where he gets some of his cores, his engines that he takes apart, because that thing sounds like it's going to blow into a million pieces. Wow. Can you hear that? Everyone listen. That's like a connecting rod, man. That's not an exhaust issue. That's parts. Woo, crap. Oh, it is my great pleasure to show you the rear suspension and rear drivetrain of our Sienna. Because it's really, really interesting. First of all, is suspension-wise, you got your multi-link situation here. Got your coil spring up in there, and you got the shock absorber in between that. Oh wait, that's not a shock absorber, sorry, that's a bump stop. There's your shock absorber. And look at this lateral link. You have a subframe here that connects this to the actual unibody. And then you got these beams here Got a beam on each side with these links, and it's just fascinating stuff. But wait, that's not the really interesting thing about it. What's really interesting is our rear drivetrain, because it's all electric. As you can see in here, there's your differential. And that cord right there, that orange that you see in there, is your electric line that goes up to the batteries and to the master control system and all that stuff. But like I say, this particular drivetrain, the rear drive system is completely separated from the front. There is no mechanical connection at all. It's the same way with the Highlander hybrid and the RAV4 hybrid, which both have all-wheel drives that you can get. So anyway, it's absolutely fascinating how this works, because it's, like I said, it's completely separate. And Toyota, like I said, just did a lot here with the structure of the rear cradle, is what I like to call it, is where all our subframe and actual unibody attached together, and all the links to the suspension. Everything is fascinating. What's even more interesting, you got this little, this is like a, I don't know what this stuff is. It's pretty lightweight, but that's just to protect primarily the electrical connection, I think, to your rear differential. But look at all the metallic or high, well, it may not, I don't know, are you, hang on, let's see if I can get underneath. Oh, that's like that, is it? That's a polycarbonate type of thing, probably maybe even ballistic nylon for all I know. But you have all this area here where your fuel tank is, and where your battery, part of your battery pack. Now, I think the battery pack is probably, well, wait a minute, where is the battery pack? Wait a minute, let's think about this, because it can't be beneath the rear seat the way it is on the other vehicles, so it must be underneath there. And if you take a good look at this whole thing, you can see we have all kinds of various bits of coverage to keep it nice and smooth and aerodynamic. And it also offers a little bit of protection off-road, but more than anything else, it keeps the underflow of the body nice and smooth to help get that phenomenal gas mileage. So this is the underside of this minivan is one of your more interesting, because it's just got all kinds of neat stuff. And most interesting of all, of course, is the rear drive system. But I love this thing. I think everything about this car intrigues me, because it just, it's such a versatile vehicle and such a capable vehicle, and yet it does so efficiently. And sometimes to find that efficiency, you have to dig deep. You have to
ask and you shall receive. So I contacted Toyota about something I was very curious about. When I was underneath this vehicle just a second ago, I was looking around and kind of wondering where the battery is, because you can't, in most of them, as I've said before, the rear seat, underneath the rear seat is where the battery is kept on most of these hybrids, but you can't really do that with this one. I mean, that's not allowed. So where is it? Well, Toyota was nice enough to inform me. It's under the front seats. And sure enough, there's your ventilation right down here. Keep your your nickel metal hydride ventilated, and that's where they put the battery. It's underneath all this stuff here in the front. So that's how they do it in the cleverness. And I also found out, because I was curious about, there is a temporary spare available if you want it for this all-wheel drive vehicle. I thought maybe just the front drive version would have that available due to space concerns, but nope, they figured it out, and you can have your temporary spare if you want. But there's where the battery is. Who knew?
So, wow. So we have our Sienna XSE all-wheel drive, 7-passenger version. And our base price is $43,705. And with our option packages, including the XSE Plus package, we come to a grand total of $48,650. Not bad, and your overall fuel economy is supposed to be about 35 miles per gallon, which is about what I saw. So ladies and gentlemen, and your little children,
This is a really, really good minivan, and it's a really good family wagon for just about anybody, no matter where you live. I'd look at one if I were you. I really would. Take care. Gesalke wollen, sein viel